Good afternoon again. I have the privilege of introducing Jon's presentation today. Have you ever doubted that you were enough? While you see others on social media talking about their world-changing efforts, have you ever felt like you were just not as capable? Speaking for 15 to 20 minutes in preparation for what he hopes to be a speech worthy of the international stage, Jon Antonucci asks us to challenge the limitations we may feel, and to do our part wherever we are to change the world. Please help me welcome Jon Antonucci.
The title of my presentation is Anyone Can Change the World. Do you believe that? I do. It might sound trite, it might sound patronizing, but it's true. When I look at the 9 or 10 of us here today, what I see are world changers. And let me tell you why. You see, I don't believe that the world is often changed by a single monumental act, but rather by simple deeds of ordinary people who positively impact the lives of those around them. Another person said it like this. They said, do your little bit of good in the world. It's those little bits of good that overwhelm the world. As I contemplate the idea that it's those little bits of good that overwhelm the world, and I reminisce on the fact that it is not often gargantuan things that make the biggest difference, but rather the simple deeds of ordinary people positively impacting the lives of those around them, I recall a story maybe you've heard in the past, or maybe you have not. It's a story of a young boy. The boy happens to come out of his home after a fairly significant water incident, we'll call it. As the water from the ocean had pushed up onto the land and the storm had left, while the waters receded, they had left thousands, maybe even millions of starfish on the sandy beach. And as the boy looked at the starfish and he saw them as far as he could see, he knew that in the absence of the storm, the waters would not come far enough back to bring the starfish back into their home. And so he picked up a starfish and he walked it over and he dropped it in the ocean. And then he went back and picked up 2 more and walked them over and dropped them in the ocean. And he did this and he started to move faster and faster. And as he picked up the starfish and dropped them in the ocean, an elderly gentleman came out and observed the young boy and walked up and said, "Lad, what are you doing?" And the little boy said, "Sir, I'm taking the starfish and putting them back in their home." The old man smiled, amused by the naivete of the young lad, and says, "Son, look at this beach. There's thousands, maybe 1 million starfish out here. You can't really make a difference." And the boy reached down, picked up another starfish, walked it over, dropped it in the ocean, and said, "It made a difference for that one." One starfish at a time. One act of kindness at a time. One person at a time. That is how we change the world. And anyone can do that. Now, hopefully we are more inclined, simply by inspiration of a story about a young boy dropping starfish, to say, you know what? I can do something small like that. I think I could make a difference. But I want to take a moment to make it just a little bit more real. Because I believe that words have great power. It can be inspiring to read words. It can be motivating to hear them. But I think it's empowering to say them. And so I would like to invite you to participate with me in this speech. Where you are, will you simply just say out loud, I can change the world? Go ahead. I
I
can
can
change
change
the
the
world.
world.
Awesome. Thank you. Now, with a bit more conviction, will you say it again? I can change the world. I can change the
I
world.
can change the world.
I can
Thank you
change
so
the
much.
world.
Thank you. Now, one more time, like you really believe it, will you join me as we say it together? Ready? 1, 2, 3. I
I
can
can
change
change
the
the
world.
world.
Wonderful. Thank you for speaking into your life in that way. Now, I do have to be transparent with you about this because I believe that anyone can, but I also know that changing the world can be hard. Just because anyone can do it doesn't necessarily make it easy. And a lot of times you hear the rah, rah, but no one ever necessarily talks about the challenges that are inherently associated with world-changing efforts. For example, sometimes we may not feel like changing the world. Maybe we'll be burdened by whatever is going on in our mind or going through our day, and so we don't even notice the opportunity. We don't notice the young mother with 3 children who could really use some help paying for her groceries or at least loading them in the car. We don't see the fella outside of the restaurant that's looking for his next meal. Alternatively, in our worst moments, we may not feel like some people even deserve our help. And we forego the opportunity to pick up a starfish, to provide a random act of kindness, or to make a difference, one person at a time. Sometimes we may also be distracted from changing the world. We got a lot going on. We're very busy. The world is a chaotic place. Not only that, there are voices out there that are often distracting. I think of a conversation that I had just recently where someone asked me, in light of the US elections that were at that time still looming, do you really think your vote counts? I said, I honestly don't know. But I know that if I don't vote, it for sure won't. And sometimes we have to engage, not is, does it matter, but I'm going to do my part. Other times, unfortunately, people may actively try to sabotage our efforts to change the world. People don't always understand our optimism. I think of the time that a woman said to me, Jon, you're so optimistic, you make me sick to my stomach. People might say we're wasting our time, that we can't make a difference. They may sound like that elderly gentleman who looked at the young lad and said, there's 1,000,000 starfish, you can't save them all. And sometimes, even when we do feel like it, and we've shut out the distractions, and we've shut down the people that might want to discourage us, sometimes the people we want to help simply do not want to be helped. I think of a young child who's trying to figure out how to tie their shoes. And as their mother or father comes to them and says, let me help you, honey, and they go, no, I can do it myself. Sometimes people just don't want to be helped. They want to do it themselves, and no matter how much we want it for them, we can't want it more than they want it for themselves. But despite these many, many challenges, and despite the fact that changing the world is hard, anyone can do it. Now, you might be thinking to yourself, that is easy for you to say, Jon. You own a business. You get to speak on a regular occasion. You have the opportunity to give different presentations, and you travel quite a bit. And so because of that, of course, Jon, you can talk about changing the world, but you don't know my story. You don't know what I've been through. You don't know what I'm going through. And it's easy for you to talk about how it's just a starfish and it's just a person. But Jon, you don't really understand. And if that is your thought, I would say to you, you're right. I don't know. I don't know what you're going through. I don't know what you've been through. But if it's your thought, I'd like to share another story with you. And this story will include a video that I want to play for you while I'm giving this presentation. Now, just to be sure that we don't have any miscues, can everyone see the video that we've just put up on the screen? Wonderful.
Yeah.
So we're not going to be able to hear anything in this video, but I want you to kind of watch the video as it plays. It's a short video, and if you can't quite tell what is going on with this video, it's shot from pretty far away, about 300 yards away. Let me describe what's happening in this video for you. The video is seeing an image of a prison. This prison is in Globe, Arizona, and on the other side of a very large gate stands an inmate and an officer. The officer is checking last check with the radio to make sure that the right former inmate or soon to be former inmate is being released. And the inmate that is walking out of that prison is breathing free air for the first time in 12 years. The young man pulls his cart of belongings from over a decade of incarceration toward his brother's truck. And this is the video that you're watching. This young man made a very poor decision when he was 19 years old that led him to a 14-year prison sentence. He spent 12 of that behind bars, and this is the first day he has walked out as a free man, having spent the end of his teens, all of his 20s, and into his 30s in incarceration. The man had character issues, and that's what sent him into incarceration. But in that place, he really took hold of the idea to do your little bit of good where you are, because it's those little bits of good that overwhelm the world. This young man had the opportunity to do some really great things. For himself, he earned several degrees, all the way up to a master's degree. And in that place of self-reflection and self-improvement, he was also given the opportunity to impact the lives of those around him. He began something called inmate peer programming, a peer-based rehabilitative program that was designed to give tools and resources to those who wanted to leave a life of crime and re-enter the community as contributing citizens. By the time he was walking out in this video, well over 10,000 inmates had encountered him, gone through his classes, received certifications, and in some cases been trained to carry on the work that he was now leaving behind. That legacy lasted much longer than his period of incarceration. In fact, it was only about 6 months ago that this same individual that you see on your screen was on a phone call. He was on a phone call with a new mentee of his. This mentee had been assigned to him through the Arizona Small Business Association. And the Arizona Small Business Association's program called the GO program is a program that's designed to empower people who have gotten out of prison start their own businesses. His new mentee had gotten out 3 weeks before and was happy to get going and participate in this program. The mentee was listening carefully as this man spoke and shared a few things about himself. And it was about halfway through their second call that the mentee stopped this man in the middle of his sentence and said, "Wait, you're Jon Antonucci? Dude, I've been hearing about you for years." Now, in case you didn't catch that, yes, the name of that man on your screen was Jon Antonucci. That man was me. I am a firm believer that anyone can change the world. If nothing else, if I can, so can you. I still don't know your story. I still don't know what you've been through. I still don't know what you're going through. But I believe that anyone can change the world. Why? Because I don't believe that changing the world happens through a monumental act, but rather by simple deeds of ordinary people positively impacting one person at a time. So, as we conclude, I ask you this question again. What if I told you that what the world needs most right now is sitting in your chair? Mr. Toastmaster.